long. There's only 445 parking spaces in lieu of the 762 required. The last point I want to make is to go through the parking. It increases traffic 5,400 trips a day. Well, if you start at zero, not if you start with a banquet center that has a 2,000 seat banquet center. There is an increase in trips, but it's an increase in trip that's only a fraction of what's being alleged on the flyer. So this
here, you're about out of time.
Let me go.
Address the parking.
Let me go last to the shared parking. And Jerry Overland, who handled the shared parking, is here and can go through it in detail. What you were not told during the earlier presentation was that both the specific plan and the zoning code specifically state that shared parking is appropriate for these types of projects. That's why it is not a variance, because the code tells you that when you're going to have multiple uses on the site, you're allowed to provide for a shared parking analysis. You don't have to park a gym. You don't have 300 parking spaces for a 30,000 square foot Equinox as if there's nothing else going on. 300 parking spaces that are empty 22 hours of the day. You don't have, and then when you're going to have restaurants that are busy at hours, you're allowed to go through this process. The council that stood before you has done dozens of these projects where there's shared analysis. In fact, virtually every mixed-use shopping center along Venture Boulevard and throughout the valley are done on this type of parking analysis. It's a standard analysis, and these numbers come out where they go hour by hour and determine what are going to be the maximums. And what was said was, I don't know how they come up with these numbers. In fact, it's the very first thing we do is we go and do these numbers and we get them checked by the city, and then you design the project. Because then we know, we knew we could, to do this size project, this is how many spaces we have on the site that are usable, and then the project is designed. It's not some magic hocus pocus at the end. This is exactly how this is done. You can ask your staff about how this is reviewed. Mr. Overland is here and can go through that in detail. Mr. President, I appreciate you taking the time, but this is a very straightforward project.
I got you. There is some follow-up inquiry, Mr. Durkin.
So help me walk through the math that you just said about the site. You said that we've got an Equinox that was approved in what year?
2010. 2010.
And that was for how many square feet?
30,000.
And then the site already has
56,000 square feet.
56,000. So the math in my head is that 30 plus the 56 is already really been approved on the site.
That's
right?
correct.
So then the new project is 97. So
Correct.
the environmental document is taking a look at the added impact to the community, and that would be 10,000 square feet of what's not already there. Is that how it goes?
No, the environmental document actually looks at the entire impact, not just the added 10,000 feet.
Okay.
But what's important for you to know is that this is 0.37 FAR. This is what's already there. It's not a ground up from zero. You heard about one point I would like to make. Yes, go ahead.
While we're here, when Equinox was approved,
Yes.
it was some of the banquet space was going to be replaced.
No.
Correct? Is it all going to stay operational?
The Equinox was actually going to be over here. It was going to be on this side of the property. And the banquet space was not going to be touched. So when that approval went through, the Equinox gym was going to be here. In fact, you may have seen something about a lot line adjustment. There was a proposal for a lot line adjustment to create a separate lot so the Equinox can have their own lot, possibly buy it. But what we've done is, now that we're going to redo this whole side, is put the Equinox over here. What we're also able to do, and this is important for you to know, is there was a firehouse here, about an 8,000 square foot firehouse, which there's a new firehouse. It emptied. My client purchased that. So that's 8,000 square feet of space that is also going out. That's going out off the site. So now that I think of it, it's 56,000 square feet plus the firehouse of 8,000 feet is going out. And what's going in is the 67,000 of the shopping center and the 30,000 of the gym.
And then I have one more question, and I think it might be something also to staff. You've got a traffic consultant, and they've got a traffic consultant. Can you talk to me your understanding, or maybe staff is, about how that's reviewed at the city of LA? Is it just sort of Because there's dueling studies here, I just want to understand the process.
You were given correct information. The city planning department is the one who reviews the shared parking analysis. It's not a DOT review, it's a city planning department review. They've done them in, like I said, virtually every mixed use, multi-tenant type of project on the boulevard or throughout the valley has this kind of analysis. They have a standard program for doing it, which is to go hour by hour and look at the uses of the hour to make sure that at the peak hour you have enough parking space on the site, and that procedure was followed. What you'll hear from the experts. I think if the expert, even for the hotel, the lot owner, says what he said in the report, he'll tell you that it's technically lead correct according to the code. That's what it says in his report that was given to you. Was that this shared parking agreement was technically correct according to the code. And their complaint was, well, at the maximum, it would be as much as 90+% full, and people might drive around. Well, I mean, yeah, at a maximum, it could be close to full or full. So that's what the report of the opponent says. But I urge you to ask your staff about this process and this review, and whether there's anything unusual as to how this was done. This is exactly how this is done. We don't make people build massive parking lots for all kinds of fields, so that there's empty parking spaces all the time.
Any other questions of Mr. Gaines?
Yes, I have one last question. On Equinox, a lot of fitness places exist around here, 24 hours. What are the going to be the hours of this thing?
They are not 24 hours. You know the hours, the exact hours of Equinox?
5:30 a.m.
Well, yeah, they open in the morning, they close at night. They're not 24 hours. And
What time or what time?
but I'll try to find out. I'll try to find out the exact time and get you.
Very well.
They're not going to be able to do 2 a.m. to the site.
The restaurants will.
Mr. Gaines, wrap it up, sir.
Yeah. The last point I want to make is you heard some issues about noise. This is currently a banquet facility. It's been a banquet facility before anybody in this room probably ever knew about the site. With outdoor activities up to 2,000 people. What happens in a banquet facility? Maybe even if it only gets used once a week, it's 500 people showing up all at one time on Saturday night, going in, dancing, drinking, music, and coming all out just about at the same time and leaving. Okay. Compare that, in your own knowledge, to a center with 5 restaurants and 20 stores. Okay, think about the noise. It's not even, you don't have to be an expert to understand how much noise comes out of 5 high-end restaurants compared to a banquet and party facility. And you'll hear you've seen the technical experts. Is it going to be more than 5 decibels higher than the ambient at the site? I guess the last thing I wanted to show you, so you have it in case people want to refer to it. This is the aerial of the area. The alcove neighbors you're hearing from are across the river and on the street right here. So from the back of from the back of the property would be over 200 feet to the nearest person. From the back of the facility, shouldn't say back of the property. From the back of the buildings where the activity would be, over 200 feet across the river to where the closest residents are. So I'll leave that in case anyone wants to refer to it. I appreciate very much, Mr. President, the time that you've given. We do have our experts here, our traffic consultant, the noise consultant, the general manager of the hotel. You'll hear from Mr. Weinberg and others. Did you have the answer on the hours? Yes.
My name is Jake Chesson. I'm here with the Weintraub Real Estate Group. The hours for the Equinox Gym are 5:30 a.m. to 10 o'clock p.m. on the weekdays and 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on the weekends.
And what about the restaurants?
The restaurants are different.
Mr. Gaines, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.